James opened the door and tossed his keys onto the table. He struck his lighter and lit the last cigarette in his pack, letting the ash burn down until gravity and the ceiling fan had taken care of it. The tie was too tight around his neck. He hated wearing it. He hated the reason he was wearing it. Everybody hates funerals. James met Scott when he moved to town at the age of 13. Scott's parents were divorced and he had come here from a small town in New York. James thought everyone from New York sounded like Joe Pesci having a bad day.
You only exist
And it came as quite a shock to James that not every New Yorker lived in Brooklyn. They quickly bonded over a shared love of kung fu films and X-Men comics. Scott and his mother had moved in with his grandmother when they came to town, and after she had passed, it was harder for his mother to keep track of the bills and to keep an eye on Scott at the same time. And Scott took full advantage of the situation. A few stolen beers or a joint and some Pink Floyd albums in the basement became the norm at the house that Scott's grandmother had left to his mother, mortgage and all, except for $500 in a wax-sealed box that were given to one Mr. Ernesto del Santos, whom the family had never heard of. James was thrilled to have a place to hang out that was free of any sort of adult supervision, and by the time junior year rolled around, James had found dope. It started with a few pills here and there, but quickly became a habit, then a ritual, then a full-blown addiction. It was during James' habit phase that he turned Scott on. They had been drinking in the basement when James crushed up a pill right in front of Scott and snorted half up one nostril. He turned to his friend and said, "Want a hit? I bet it knocks you on your ass, you damn pansy." And that was all it took. 6 months after that, they had sold all of James' grandmother's jewelry and every tool that hung in his long-past grandfather's shed. A year in, and they had moved on from pills to needles. Last week, Scott was preparing to graduate and talking about what to do next month. Now he's dust and ash, swept away on the cold winds. James snapped out of his fugue and now can focus on what's important. Spoon, candle, needle, belt. The warmth of God's love washed over him as he leans back, becoming part of the chair that he's sitting in. He begins to nod when someone starts to gently shake him. "James, wake up. Come on, man. That must have been a great hit that you took. Wake up, man." James opened his dope-soaked eyes and sees Scott there helping him onto his feet. "Damn, Scott, I had the worst dream. You overdosed and I had to go to your funeral. God, it was so real. I never want to go through that again. We need to get our lives together." "Dream?" Scott replied. "That was no dream. I'm dead. Dead from the drugs you introduced me to. Dead from the drugs you gave me. I'm dead, and it's your fault. I'm dead, and I need you to join me." "No way in hell. I don't blame Andy for giving me my first taste, and it's not my fault you died. This can't be real anyway. Your ashes were scattered this evening. You're gone, and I'm tripping on this dope. I'm not going anywhere with you." Scott looked at his friend and gave him his gentlest of smiles. "Turn around and look at yourself. The needle didn't even make it out of your arm. You don't have to go anywhere with me, but you have already joined me." Andy opened the door and tossed his keys onto the table. He struck his lighter and lit the last cigarette in his pack, letting the ash burn down until gravity and the ceiling fan had taken care of it. The tie was too tight around his neck. He hated wearing it. He hated the reason he was wearing it. Everybody hates funerals.